Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Next up is going to be another aircraft in the series from Monogram of their naval aircraft from the late 50s, early 60s. This is the F6F5 Hellcat. We've already seen the SB2C Helldiver, and this one was issued the same, or shortly after that one. This is the fifth one in that series that they produced of naval aircraft with functioning parts like folding wings, dropping bombs, things like that. So they started out in 1958 with a TBF Avenger, kit number PA31, and then 1959 with the SBD Dauntless PA54, 61 the F4F Wildcat PA66, and also in 61 was the SB2C Helldiver PA69. Then in 63, the year this kit was issued, this is PA80, and then they also issued PA82, which was their F4U4. So this was the end of the initial group of 6 that they produced. After this, they started getting a little bit more focused on accuracy and detail than they were in functionality. So let's take a look at the kit itself here. Not really going to review the history on the Hellcat. That's a pretty popular aircraft with a lot of information out there on it. So we'll skip the review of the aircraft itself and just go straight to the kit. So we've got the fantastic artwork that's on here with 3 Hellcats flying there. Got a carrier down below. This is CV9, which is the USS Essex, showing it as quarter scale, 48th, which is 1/48 scale, and the highlighting, folding wings, outer panels twist and fold as on actual aircraft. The Grumman patented a unique kind of wing folding mechanism, which they were able to replicate in this kit. Retracting landing struts, tail wheel, and arrestor hook. This has twist around and then fold back landing gear, and they're able to reproduce that in the kit as well. Bombs, drop tank, rockets, and machine guns. So here we've got the 4-star logo from the early Monogram kits. And then on this side, got a little bit of information about the Hellcat, the kit itself. Monogram historical collector's model, 1/4" scale again. And on this side, got a listing of other aircraft in their 1/4" scale line. So we mentioned the Dauntless, Avenger, Helldiver, Wildcat, and Corsair. They'd also made the Spitfire, Zero, and an ME-109. These weren't as fancy as the Navy ones because they didn't have folding wings and dropping bombs, but they did have a retracting landing gear. Then over here we've got the copyright of 63. And on the end, repetition of the top box art and kit number, PA80-149. So the suggested retail price of this kit was $1.49. Now on this end is similar to the other side. And let's get inside here. So the box is one of the older hard boxes with a lithograph print that's been wrapped around and glued onto the box top. It's one of the ways you can tell the difference from the original kits and some of the repops that they made later on that look like the old kits, but one of the quick ways you can tell is just by looking at the bottom of the box, and you can see if this is wrapped around. This is an old kit. If you just see raw cardboard, then that's one of the new repops. So I'll set that aside, and we'll take a look at the instructions. So Monogram shows you a few kind of stylized photographs. They've been heavily retouched of the completed kit. Again, 1/4 scale, explaining to you what 1/4 scale meant. Add for their plastic cement, and a pretty good little history of the Hellcats here. And we'll open it up. Got a big section of read before assembly. Got an exploded diagram showing you all the parts, identifying them by numbers. And then the step-by-step instructions. Monogram was really good at this time of giving you some really thorough instructions, showing you each little step in it, and not only showing you a photograph of the step, but then going in detail into explaining what to do. Real important for these kits that had functional parts, because in order for them to work, you really had to follow what they're saying in the instructions. Make sure you didn't get glue in certain places. So it's really important to follow along these instructions. Even suggesting putting rubber bands around to hold it together, and putting the wings and the landing gear together. And you notice here they've got, flare over end of axle with heated knife blades. So they were still doing that with this kit. Complex way of putting it all together here. Holding it together rubber bands and clothesline pins. And then final assembly of putting on the wings, final assembles of the wings, and then the under fuselage stores. Finally, canopy and rockets. And then on the back, they give you a couple of photographs showing you for decal placement for both Navy and Marine markings. And more information about the Hellcats, and specifically the markings that are on there. And then some painting guides with color call-outs and where to paint. And then very in-depth detail explanation along with photographs showing you how to do all the operating features on there. So pretty nice. So that's our instructions. We also got a little Monogram insert for their hobby catalog, featuring on the cover Big T. This was a big deal of a kit when it came out. It was pretty large scale, and it was real popular. I believe it's still produced today. And you've got some of their smaller kits here. Or actually, no, those are the larger kits. Those are the 32nd scale kits. There's the transparent see-through Mustang. Got their missile sets, ships, vehicles, armored vehicles, military vehicles. There's a lot of their box scale early kits here. We reviewed a couple of these already. The Trimotor, the B-66, and what else? T-28. And then here's their 1/4-inch ones. There's some civilian aircraft. Those were flyable ones still. And they're still advertising as late as this, 1963. They're Speedy-built flying models. These were wood with a little bit of plastic. Interesting to see that still in 1963 advertising Speedy-builts. Then on the back side here, we've got a whole series of their hot rods and race cars. And in fact, this one here, this midget, was their very first kit. And then their 49er series. These were little small, tiny kits that could be put together pretty quick and easy. I built this one here, the Voodoo. And here's their missile arsenal. This one's been reissued recently by Atlantis. And the Cyclone engine, that's also been reissued by Atlantis. And I think the V8 may be just recently done too. So kind of neat. This came in and there, so you could figure out what was going to be your next kit. And here we have the decals, and surprisingly in very, very good condition. This is actually a really nice shape kit, and the decals are excellent. So, did some research on this to try to figure out, how accurate this is. As we've seen on some of the other ones from Monogram in this series, they seem to be kind of fictitious decals. They're saying that the one with the 99 and the Red Rippers squadron patch is supposed to be a Navy one, and the Red Rippers, which at the time that the F6F5 was flying, was VF4, and they flew off the Bunker Hill initially, and then the Essex, and they're showing it with a tailcoat of T. And at the time, at the end of the war, the Navy squadrons had all these geometric shapes for the tail and for the wings. And the Bunker Hills was an arrow pointing up, and the Essex was a horizontal stripe. So this T doesn't really match up to either one of those. I was able to find one photograph which is purported to be from the Red Rippers, what appears to be the squadron patch on the side or on the nose, and it's coded number 99 with a T on the tail. And so I don't know if they're kind of using that as the jumping point to create this marking, but does not appear that that is an aircraft that would have been on either one of those carriers, because it doesn't match up. It's listed that number 95 aircraft is an F9F5P, which would have been a photographic aircraft. So it's possible that maybe the T tail designator was some sort of a reference to that being the photo ship for the carrier air group. So that may be possible, but I could not find any other photographs of VF4 with T's on their tails, other than that one picture. And then the number 10s are supposed to be for a Marine Corps aircraft. The Marine Corps did not fly the Hellcat very much. The F6F5s, the night fighter version, which was the F6F5N, was used by 4 or 5 Marine Corps squadrons, VMF squadrons. They were all the night fighter ones, which had the ray dome on the wing, and completely different markings than what they're showing here. Those were based on some of the escort carriers as part of combined squadrons or air groups combined with Avengers on those escort carriers. So I think that this number 10 Marine Corps supposedly is another fictitious Monogram fantasy marking. So we'll show you that one picture of the number 95 with the T-tail. So you can be the judge on that. So now we'll take a look at the kit itself. And we've got our fuselage halves. In order to fit this in the box, they took this one off the tree. And got some real fine rivet detail, which is actually accurate for the Hellcat, well, at least partially. Fuselage had regular raised rivets. It was lap joined across the fuselage, and the wings were flush riveted. So you've got some nice detail going there for that. Nothing on the inside. And here we have the other side of the fuselage with the monogram of the 1963 date in there. Similar raised panel lines and rivets. Then we have a representation of the 2800 engine. Not too bad. Let's set those aside. And then we have a tree of parts molded in black. This is really nice. I mean, almost everything is still on here. It looks like the only thing that's come off is the pilot and I think the propeller. So you get to really see how this kit came. So we got our bombs. What's nice is the tail fins are molded separately, so you can attach them correctly. Our rockets, unfortunately, are all one piece, so they've got the same problem that a lot of these 50s, 60s kits have, which is the tail fins are square to the launch rails or posts or stubs. So that's not how they actually were on the aircraft. They'd be cocked 45 degrees, so that way the fins cleared the posts. Here's our wheels, landing gear parts, and we get a deck crewman. Monogram was pretty good about giving you some extra people, and he's pretty good looking. Set that one aside, and we'll look at the pilot. It's the standard pilot figure that you've seen on a lot of these Monogram kits. Pretty decent. And let's get the propeller out. Nice representation of the prop. And here are some of our wing parts. Oops. And unfortunately, they put the raised riveting on the wings, which is not very accurate. And the ejection ports for the spent casings, I don't think are quite that big. I think they're shorter than that. You have molded on walkway on the wing. There is no interior detail for the gear area. In fact, there's no interior detail at all. And then here we have the tree for the upper wings. Same rivet detail. Do you see where the openings for the guns would have been? Got your molded on 50s on there. Our one-piece tail fins. Do have some representation of fabric covering. There's our drop tanks and wheel covers. And there's our other tail. And here we have the canopy, one piece. And interesting, it comes in its own little separate bag. They were doing that in 1963. So it's not just a modern thing they do. The Revell clear parts were usually really good. Very clear, good framing on them. A little thick, but in comparison to a lot of other canopies of the time period, monograms were some of the best. And this thing's, even being inside this plastic, you can see how crystal clear it is. So there you have it. This is your Monogram 48 scale Hellcat with operating parts. So this is the original issue, as I mentioned, 1963. They did reissue it again in 67 in their blue box, using the same artwork, just smaller in a small area. The rest of it being in that light blue color that a lot of their kits were in the late 60s. Then there was an issue of that same blue box by when Mattel had acquired them, so it's got the Mattel logo on it. And then 73, you got the white photo box. In fact, I've got one of those here, which I'm going to be building. And so, interesting that they put the checkerboard markings on here, which are not accurate at all for this particular aircraft. So that was in the 70s with the Truth in Advertising, and they continued that throughout the 70s. They reissued again, slight variation, 79. There was also a joint issue with Bandai with a different set of decals. Same type of photograph, but a different set of decals on it. And Bandai, did that with quite a number of the Monogram kits that they acquired. They would create their own decals, which was kind of neat. And then in '88, there was a Ghost Squadron from the CAF with a set of decals that matched the artwork or the markings on the aircraft that they were flying at the Confederate Air Force. In '89, there was another new box issue. And in '94, they did something a little different. They did an issue of the kit in Fleet Air Arm markings for the British. So it was a Hellcat Mark II. And then '99, they did a nostalgia boxing, basically recreating this one. That's the one I was kind of telling you about. The way you can tell this one from that one is, look at the box edge. And then finally in 2012, after the dropping of the Monogram name after the Revell Monogram merger, Revell issued it under their own name, completely different artwork and new decals as well. And it has not been issued since then, but wouldn't be surprised if we see it pop up again. It's a pretty popular kit. So, have you built one of these guys? Tell us about it in the comment section. If you've got one of these sitting on your shelves, take some pictures of it and send it in for our next viewer build video, and be much appreciated. Well, that's all we have for today. Thanks for watching, and have yourself a great rest of your day.